So, back for week 3 of the High Roller Draft League. This week I'm going to be going against Carneyasadaa. I'm just going to say Carney from now on because I don't know how it's pronounced. You can see their team there in the top right. I think I've got a pretty reasonable matchup this week. I think the Blastoise is going to put in a lot of work this week. Just needs to be scared a little bit of the Magnezone, a tiny bit of the Thwackey, but the rest of the Pokemon aren't that great into Blastoise, so that is mainly what I'm going to be relying on going into this week. As you can see, I'm going with a very offensive Blastoise. Did start off with a White Herb on the Blastoise because I was intending of just going Follow Me Shell Smash, but then there are a few spread attacks that could get around that. I do still have Shell Smash in case I manage to get it off, but for the most part, I'm probably just going to be Dynamaxing Blastoise turn 1. I'm going physical this week because a lot of the Pokemon, like the Nihilego, the Indeedee, have a lot less physical defense than they do special defense. It also lets me run Earthquake, which will quad hit the Magnezone, so physical makes a lot more sense here. Blastoise only has 2 less attack than its special attack, so physical is entirely reasonable, and got the Ice Punch there, so that I can hit the Thwackey and the Togekiss for super effective damage as well. Well, I guess the Drifblim as well, and the Regidrago. So yeah, it's got pretty perfect coverage. It's going to start racking up the damage with the G-Max Cannonades. A lot of Pokemon would like to run a Focus Sash on that team, so if I break any of the Focus Sashes with the G-Max Cannonade, I'm sorted there. I can break it with the Hailstorm as well, so yeah, I'm running a pretty fast Blastoise as well, because in practice, Jamie Keane was running Jolly Magnezone the entire time, and that has ultimately persuaded me to run a pretty fast Blastoise and not much bulk at all, but that should be fine. When it's Dynamaxing, there's not many Pokemon that can do too much damage. The Magnezone would be the main one. If I get a Max Quake before the Magnezone is able to attack, I'll be able to survive even a Lightning, so that should be fine. Pairing up the Blastoise with the Clefable this week, most likely going to be the leads. Like, the majority of the time I should be leading Blastoise Clefable. The initial intention was just Follow Me Shell Smash, but now the intention is just Helping Hands max move. So that's going to be the game plan going into this, and then I'll have 2 of the Pokemon in the back, so we will see how that goes. Got the Burberry Berry because of the Magnezone. There is nothing that can OHKO this Clefable outside of Specs Nihilego, because I am EV'd to survive even a Life Orb Sludge Bomb from the Nihilego. If they're Meteor Beam and they get the Power Herb going first, or they get their Beast Boosts, then I'm unaware and can't be affected by the stat increases of the Sludge Bomb, so I will still be able to survive that attack, and the Burberry Berry allows me to take on even the Magnezone, so I should be able to survive pretty much anything that should be thrown out at this Clefable. That means that I can pretty safely go for a Helping Hand instead of a Follow Me, or just go on the offensive with a Moonblast to break any Focus Ashes, or the Mystical Fire to reduce the special attacks, and the fact that it is a Fairy type as well should hopefully put off the Regidrago, which would be the main spread type attacker that could stop the Follow Me Shell Smash from going on. So Clefable Blastoise should be a very strong lead going into this match. Probably going to be bring either Copperajah and Exeggutor or Latios and Zapdos in the back. So Copperajah is entirely reasonable in this week as well. It is an alternative max Pokemon. I am not expecting to Dynamax anything but the Blastoise and maybe the Copperajah. If I just instead go Clefable, Exeggutor, and set up Trick Room immediately. But this Copperajah is pretty reasonable. Again, there's not too much that can deal with it outside of the 2 fighting types. I guess the Swampert as well, to an extent. But I've got coverage for the Swamperts. I can OHKO the Pheromosa if it has its Sash broken by a Steel Surge. So if I got into the Trick Room, then Pheromosa won't be too great an answer to the Copperajah. I've got Heavy Slam and Iron Head, because Heavy Slam does a lot of damage with the double power of the Heavy Metal, because I'm not going Sheer Force this week. Power Whip and Earthquake don't have secondary effects, so they don't get affected by Sheer Force. And because of the Assault Vest, I've got the space to run 2 Steel moves. I don't need any extra coverage. Iron Head lets me hit a Dynamax Togekiss in case that happens, because Heavy Slam doesn't affect Dynamax Pokemon, so just an extra way of hitting the Togekiss if I need to, if they did Dynamax that. The Heavy Slam is way more powerful than the Iron Heads. So majority of the time is Heavy Slam. I did consider Steel Roller just as a tiny little bit extra power on the max move, and there is a Thwackey there, so they do bring the Thwackey. The Steel Roller could be doing a bit more damage, but Iron Head and Heavy Slam are consistent enough. I probably don't need the extra 10 base power of the G-Max move on the not Steel Spike, Steel Surge, so shouldn't come into play too much. And I keep making these spreads earlier than I make these team builders, so I keep forgetting what they do. I don't know what this does. It's just max attack pretty much. And I think it's optimized so that I've got the lowest stat, which is defense, thanks to the Assault Vest. Special defense is slightly higher, so that it's half of the HP, because that is the theoretically optimal way of EVing Pokemon if you're just going for General Bulk. I'm pretty sure this was just General Bulk, and then like optimized so that it's half and half. So yeah, that's going to be the Copperajah that could potentially sweep in Trick Room, with the Exeggutor setting that Trick Room. Was initially a Porygon Z, with the intention of the Porygon Z just literally setting Trick Room again, and then it kind of ended up as might as well be Exeggutor, because Tri-Attack does some reasonable damage from the Porygon Z, but this coverage is a lot better against the most of the team. I'm not running a Grass move, because that would have only been for the Swampert. I can still hit Swampert reasonably hard with a Dragon Hammer, so I'm not too concerned about dropping the Grass move. I've got Focus Sash if they've got an Ice move, so I should be able to survive again. It's just Focus Sash, Exeggutor. I'll be able to survive any attacks. If they go with the Regidrago, this will be able to still set up Trick Room in front of the Regidrago because of the Focus Sash, allowing it to survive, even if they Dragon Energy in front of the Clefable as well. That allows me to go Frisk. Frisk is busted in Draft League. And because I'm the Focus Sash variety, and I do have Tailwind and Airstream potential as well, I've gone max speed on the Exeggutor. I don't really care about the bulk. I'll underspeed most important Pokemon as well, and maybe even get the jump on some very slow Pokemon if they decided to run like min speeds to try and go a Trick Room route, which they definitely can do. They've got 2 Trick Room setters in the Nihilego and the Indeedee, so we'll have to see about that. But with the Focus Sash, I'm just going max speed, because then I can make use of a Airstream mode or a Tailwind mode with the Exeggutor as well. Earthquake is to hit the Magnezone and the Nihilego. Iron Head is to hit the Togekiss, so should be sorted in that regard. And Dragon Hammer is to just do general damage and hit the Regidrago if I am able to. So Latios is the other alternative mode. I should theoretically be going Blastoise Clefable with Copperajah Exeggutor in the back, or Blastoise Clefable with Latios Zapdos in the back, with the bonus one of potentially Clefable Exeggutor if I do need to go Trick Room, but we will see. Latios here, making its debut, going to get the Tailwind so that I can outspeed things like the Pheromosa, match the Tailwind of a Drifblim. If they do bring the Drifblim, then Drifblims don't tend to run much investment in attack or special attacks, so even if they do go for a Shadow Ball with my weakness policy, I should be able to do a lot of damage back to it. Match the Tailwinds, then get Shadow Balled, and then be able to go on a rampage with the Latios. Entirely reasonably could be Dynamaxed as well, if I do see the opportunity to get my weakness policy activated. I can also survive a U-turn from an Adamant Pheromosa, so that would activate my weakness policy as well, and I don't really need too much special attack with the weakness policy. If it activates, then I'll be able to do a huge amount of damage. I'm outspeeding the Nihilego. I've got Psy Shocks because of the Nihilego, so don't really need to go with Psychic or anything. Draco Meteor is just going to be doing a huge amount of damage. We'll be able to hit the Regidrago very well. And then Mystical Fire is coverage for the Magnezone, and also because on top of it, it drops the special attack. I did initially have Earthquake as well on the Latios, because there's there's 2 4 times weak to ground Pokemon in the Nihilego, and the Magnezone stacking up on Earthquake seems to make a lot of sense, but Mystical Fire is going to be slightly more efficient into the other special attackers as well, because it can still do super effective damage to the Magnezone. It does a little bit less damage. If I do Dynamax the Latios, it's doing significantly more damage to the Magnezone, so that should be fine. And dropping the special attacks should come into play in some regards as well, because there's a few Pokemon that would not appreciate their special attack being dropped. So Latios in the back, probably not Dynamaxing it, but definitely could do. And then Zapdos is the other Pokemon. Initially did have a Life Orb on the Zapdos, and the White Herb was on the Blastoise. But when I put the Life Orb on the Blastoise, just for the extra power, I decided to run Charty Berry so that I could always survive a Meteor Beam from the Nihilego, even if it gets the +1 boost. That's what the EVs do. I can remember that one. I can outspeed the Pheromosa at +1. And then the rest is just into attacks. So yeah, I've got the pretty standard coverage. I've got Roost because, again, there's not too many Pokemon outside of the Nihilego that can deal with the Zapdos, so I could get into a position where I have just basically won with the Zapdos because they can't break through it anymore. I've got the potential of Steel Spike boosts and Quake boosts as well with the Zapdos from the Blastoise and the Copperajah and even the Exeggutor to an extent that I could stack up onto the Zapdos, and then it could be unkillable in the end game. So yeah, that's going to be the team going in for this week. So 1-1 at the moment, so need to get that win so that I am positive. I don't want to go negative in this tournament, so got to get this win to get that 2-1 and the momentum going back.